In the summer of 1967, the leaders in Hanoi gathered to discuss a question that had haunted them for years. How can we break the deadlock? American troops controlled the skies, the cities, and every major road. Yet the revolution in the South still lived, hidden in jungles and carried by thousands of quiet footsteps through the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The war had reached a point where guns and bombs alone could no longer decide victory. What was needed now was not just strength, but shock, a strike that would hit the enemy's mind, not just his army. From this idea came the vision of a general offensive and uprising. The plan called for something no one had ever attempted before, a coordinated assault on dozens of cities and towns, all at once, timed to perfection. If successful, it would force the South Vietnamese people to rise up, break the Saigon government, and shatter America's will to fight. It was a gamble, a lightning strike across the map of Vietnam. And to the commanders in Hanoi, this was more than a military plan. It was a psychological war, a test of belief, endurance, and human limits. A plan born not from strength, but from the conviction that surprise can rewrite history. In late 1967, while American commanders celebrated what they called progress, a different kind of progress was unfolding in silence. Deep in the jungles of Laos and Cambodia, thousands of men and women moved along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They carried rifles, rockets, rice, and hope, step by step, through mud, rain, and American bombs. Trucks rolled at night with headlights covered. Messengers carried coded orders by hand. Everything depended on secrecy. Even within the revolutionary ranks, few knew the true scale of what was coming. By December, more than 80,000 soldiers had quietly taken their positions in the South. Ammunition was hidden in pagodas, in homes, even beneath fruit markets. Intelligence officers in Saigon worked quietly, mapping every target: the presidential palace, the radio station, the U.S. embassy. Civilians played their part, hiding supplies, passing messages disguised as letters or Tet greetings. And while American forces focused on the remote base of Khe Sanh, believing it would be the next big battle, Hanoi had already chosen a different stage, the cities themselves. Everything was ready. The timing was perfect. All that remained was to wait for Tet, when the enemy would least expect war. The calm before the storm had never been quieter. While the final preparations for the Tet Offensive were underway, another operation was unfolding, one designed to fool the most powerful intelligence network in the world. In the mountains near Laos, American reconnaissance aircraft spotted unusual movement: convoys of trucks, heavy artillery, and fresh North Vietnamese divisions heading toward the base of Khe Sanh. To the U.S. command, this could mean only one thing: a massive assault was coming. A repeat of Dien Bien Phu, where French forces had been crushed 14 years earlier. General Westmoreland shifted his focus immediately. Over 40,000 American and South Vietnamese troops were redirected to the Khe Sanh region. Bombers filled the skies. Artillery batteries were moved north. Every radar, every radio pointed toward Khe Sanh. And that was exactly what Hanoi wanted. The buildup near Khe Sanh was real, but it was only a decoy. While American eyes were fixed on the western mountains, hidden forces quietly surrounded the cities to the east. Saigon, Hue, Da Nang. The greatest military power in the world had been drawn into the wrong battle. The trap was set. When the first shots of the Tet Offensive rang out, American commanders were looking in the opposite direction. And by the time they realized the truth, it was already too late. The night of January 30th, 1968, across South Vietnam, thousands of soldiers waited in silence. Hidden in pagodas, houses, and jungles, they had only one order: wait for the signal. That signal came at midnight. In coded radio messages, 3 simple words began to echo through the night: advance, all fronts. And then the storm broke. From the Mekong Delta to the Central Highlands, from the coast of Da Nang to the gates of Saigon, over 80,000 men attacked in more than 100 towns and cities. Rockets slammed into air bases. Command posts erupted in fire. In Saigon, small assault teams moved through the city, hitting their targets with precision. The presidential palace, the radio station, and even the U.S. Embassy. In Hue, the ancient imperial capital, fighting raged street by street. For the first time in the war, the battle had come to the cities, right to the heart of South Vietnam. Civilians watched in disbelief as fireworks turned to gunfire, and the celebration of peace became a nation's nightmare. The offensive was no longer just a military operation. It was a message that nowhere, not even the most fortified city, was beyond the reach of war. Vietnam was burning, and the world was watching. When the echoes of gunfire faded, the smoke of the Tet Offensive still hung over Vietnam. The surprise had worked, but the cost was devastating. Tens of thousands of soldiers from both sides were dead. Cities once alive with markets and laughter now lay in ruins. In Hue, the imperial capital, nearly every street had turned into a graveyard. Entire families vanished. The very city that symbolized Vietnam's history had become a monument to its pain. Militarily, the offensive had failed. The uprising that Hanoi hoped for never came. The South Vietnamese government did not collapse. But in another sense, the deeper one, the Tet Offensive had already succeeded, because the world was watching. In the United States, television screens showed the war not as distant jungles, but as fire and chaos in the streets of Saigon. For the first time, Americans questioned not just the war, but the truth itself. And if we are winning, they asked, why does it look like we're losing? The Tet Offensive shattered illusions on both sides. It proved that even the strongest empire could bleed, and that every surprise in war carries a price no one can afford to pay. The guns had fallen silent, but Vietnam and the world would never be the same again. Thank you for respecting history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and write the bell so you don't miss any battles.